Yeah. We are on
Okay, he got it.
page 200 and
Okay, thank you very much.
day two, unrecognizable recognition. So you ever saw somebody that you know, but you can't figure out where you know them from?
Yes.
And it's like, I can't put my finger on this. So across the street one day, I was filling up gas, and I saw this guy, and I'm like, hmm, he was panhandling, but I'm like, he looked a little bit too young to be a panhandler, and and I'm like, yo, what familiar? And as I'm looking at him, I'm like, where do I know you from? And I'm okay with faces, names not so much. Thank God I know some. So, but for some reason his name popped into my head, and I said, "Aren't you so and so?" And he said, "Yeah." I was like, "Didn't you go to school with me?" And I said the school and first, and then he said, "Yeah." I said, "You went to school with me, didn't you?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Here that we graduated," and he said, "Yeah." And just seeing somebody that I graduated, I don't know if he graduated, but he was supposed to graduate that year, and to see him in in a place that I didn't expect him to be was shocking. And so, although I recognize him, I didn't recognize him. So it's possible to recognize somebody, but when the shift has taken place, they're unrecognizable. And so I was like, wow, this is a lot to take in. And I had $5 on me, and I gave him the $5. And it makes you, when you recognize somebody in a different place, it makes you think like, "Ooh, what has taken place in my life?" It brought me back to think. I remember how he started pushing the envelope and started getting in trouble. And I don't know his all of his story, but I remember the start of his rebellion, right? And so when you remember the start of people's story and you don't know what happened, it's a wake up call. And and so in Genesis 42, verse 8, the verse says, it says, although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Because remember that to them, his story ended where they left. So, yes, that was the end of his story because they left him for what? Death. They left him for death. So if they left him expecting that, more than likely, there was no more life after that.
But they first left him
And they
and
sold
Judah got him
that.
at the pit.
Exactly. And sold it.
Slavery.
But when you know a life ahead of somebody has a death sentence anyhow, that's like leaving them for dead. So just like the young guy who he was on his path to rebellion, and many of those guys I remember that were on their path to rebellion that I found out are actually 6 feet under, maybe not 6 feet, maybe 3 feet or a couple feet under, or maybe in an urn or something. But they're not in the land of the living. The whole point is when things don't end up a certain way, it's like, oh, so let's read on. Oh man, I was gonna say Minister Karen, do you see? That's Patty.
Studying the patriarch is like sitting at a window watching light. The costumes are archaic, set may tempt us to sit back from the glass, but the tendencies and crises of the characters make us lean forward, turning the window unexpectedly to a mirror. In our previous lessons, we've seen Joseph making himself comfortable in a life he intends to keep. He has turned his back on his past and embraced the lofty position of his present. As today's lesson opens, unexpected visitors will come and make a royal mess of the tidy set.
Oh,
The good life is about to get complicated.
oh, oh,
Just like he had the kids and he named them.
yes,
I
I forgot. Yes, listen. Let me see. Let me go back.
Making
It's about being forgotten, right?
yeah, that's so name like it.
Yes. So he was embracing this new life
Yeah.
with his new wife. In he was enjoying this. Okay. He may not have been skipping through the daisies, but he wasn't in the prison anymore. Okay.
Yes.
He was with this priest's daughter. They may have been from different religion, but he was living his life, okay? He wasn't being accused of rape anymore. He was doing what he enjoyed doing. He was being faithful. He had his children. He was enjoying life
And became a mess up. Tidy royal mess.
and he put up all he had to do was keep on my side. Let's see. Let's turn to Genesis 42. Oh my goodness. And you know what? I never really thought about that. He could have just kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
Because he was living a good life. And he was walking according to what God had said. And the one thing God did not say is that in the prophecy and the 7 years of good and the 7 years of bad, he did not say you have to deal with your family. That part was not brought up.
Nope.
Right.
He did not say you have to deal with your past. Because you know what? Probably if God said you have to deal with your past, some people say, well, I pass.
That's right.
Okay, let's go. Let's see. I don't even know if I'm with it.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I was enjoying myself. I said I was underneath. Okay, so 42 is a long thing, so we won't get through all of 42 tonight. We may have to break it apart. All right, if someone can read, let's start just 42, 1 through 7. Well, let's, yeah. 42, 1 through 7.
When Jacob heard there was one Egypt, he said to his sons, why did you just keep looking at each other? He continued, I have heard there is rain. Go down there and buy some for us so that we may live and not die. Then 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him. So his good sons were among those who went to buy grain, for the family was afraid and came also. Now Joseph was the governor of the land, the one who sold grain to all his people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. That's verse 7. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them.
Okay. Ooh, gracious, 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 gracious. You mean that? Remember, Jacob was distraught, and he was in a grieving process after he thought that Joseph was dead. This is also something to examine. Although grief exists and is a process and is with you forever, it does not necessarily consume forever. Okay, so he here he continued to grieve his son. Yes, he continued to live, but he continued to remember that his son he lost was special to him, and he was also careful with his choice with Benjamin. Plus, he didn't trust others.
He didn't trust the Lord. And rightfully so.
The Bible didn't put it in there, but I'm not gonna send my boy out with y'all, okay? Because I'm sure he was looking at their cross-eyed. So he said, why are you standing around looking at one another? So they were struggling. Up until this point, what have we known about Jacob? Was Jacob ever at the point of struggling? No. If we look back through scripture, he didn't know struggle. That means it got really bad. It got intensely bad. Now, Abraham did know struggle, because that was the first time Abraham has had to go down. You guys remember Abraham went down to Egypt because there was that time where he was in Canaan and they had to go down in order to buy. Egypt was the fruit basket. There were times where there were droughts, and they had to go and buy and sell. Okay? So we're good on that. All right? Not the first, probably won't be the last that Egypt has come to be a place of great resource that many have taken advantage of. And I don't mean robbing them, but actually in the way of really using. He said to his son, I've heard that there is grain. Go down and buy some. So financially, they were okay because they had the money to buy. But they still lacked when it came to grain. It says before we starved to death. So Joseph's 10 older brothers, they went down, they bought, but they also had to lay prostrate before Joseph, who was the governor of there. So Joseph went from being where?
In a pit.
to be in a place, yeah, to be in a place where of authority.
It is him.
Yes. And he was the governor. And if you notice, he wasn't the governor that was in an office somewhere. He was a governor who showed up. There are people who are in position who are absent. But he was there present. And there are present leaders who are close to the people, who are connected. And Joseph was just that kind of connected person. And so he was there in time to recognize his brother. Not in the by, it said instantly. And he pretended to be a stranger. Where are you from? He's a man interrupted. Go ahead. Can you keep on reading?
Where do you come from, he asked. From the land of Canaan, they replied, to buy food. Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Then he remembered his dreams about them and said, "You are spies. You have come to see where our land is not protected." "No, my lord," they answered, "your servants have come to buy food. We are all the sons of one. Your servants are honest and not spies." "No," he said, "you have come to see where our land is not protected."
Okay, so pause. So he went from being about 21, right? To now he's inching closer and closer to 40. So it's obvious that they may not have recognized him. For real.
And plus he's dressed up all nice.
Yeah. Well, he was already fancy. Don't get that away from him. He was already a fancy guy. He was just maturing.
Yeah.
Yes, he's coming into himself, and he is a husband and he's a father, and he's no longer that youngster that he was when he left the house. So let's see. Keep reading. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out because that matters, because what he really is not the same person. It's like, are you, Brother Thomas?
Yes.
Are you the same? Did you look the same at 35 as you did at 21?
No, I did.
What about 40?
Oh, no. No.
Same 21 as 40? You
I've got vision, so I've got jump.
Yeah, no, but are you the same? Would you say that people could walk by you at 40 who knew you at 21 and they wouldn't recognize you?
But they all say, "I think."
Yeah, but they would say, "Oh, I didn't recognize you," right? Right? But if they look long enough, they would clearly know, okay, yeah, that's you. You look familiar. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's still you. Right? So keep on.
But they replied, "Your servants were 12 brothers, the sons of one man who lives in the land of Canaan. The youngest now is with our father, and one is before." Joseph said to them, "It's just I told you, you are spies, and this is how you please us. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you tell if you are to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies."
Okay, we'll stop there. And until we were doing this study, I remember reading the story, but until I understood the context, I just didn't understand how could they not recognize him. But I get it. I understand. All right, so we read that portion, and we'll continue on. Hopefully, you can remember that we stopped off on verse 7. If not, we'll read it again. Okay, so describe what kind of family dynamics you sense in verse 1 and 2.
Pastor Camille, what page are you on?
We are on page 200.
Thank you.
What type of family dynamics? So let's see what verse 1 and 2 say. When Jacob heard that there was grain available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you standing around looking at one another? I have heard there was grain in Egypt. Go down and buy some for us before we all starve to death." What type of family dynamic? So that's, yeah, broken trust. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Dad is still in charge.
That is still in charge. I would agree. I would agree. Do you think he seems that he has taken some of the power from them? You know what?
He never gave it to him.
Oh, you know, it seemed like they did have that power rivalry earlier on. But it didn't seem like anybody really was the head of honcho anymore. That, yeah,
Yeah, still in control.
that's a good point. That's a great point. But oh, gracious, that's a great point. I would have noticed that. But do they seem like go-getters? Or do they
No.
seem like a little bit
Standing around,
just
No.
How did he hear and right the sons hear about like
yeah.
younger people out about getting more word about things, hear more how
Right.
handles or
Yeah.
traffic.
And how it doesn't seem to be it seems like once Joseph left, a part of the leadership the left. Because sometimes people will attack what they see, but it can't be that. Something was missing. They were just against Joseph, but they weren't what he was. Yeah, amen.
Amen. I was going to say that they're almost like his brothers were like crabs in a barrel, and Joseph was trying to shine, and they pulled him back down into the
But
barrel.
they had nothing. I mean, I can't say nothing, but it's like, what do you have to give? You
Yeah.
want to shine, but what do you have to give?
Some people don't, they just feel like rather
They don't.
take you down, they're not thinking big picture.
Because then there'll be something required for them to do. If Joseph is doing all of this, then it's something required for the other brothers to do. Because if Joseph out there being a go-getter and the other two being, or they're gonna be laid back, Dad say, "What's going on? You know, why Joseph out there doing everything and y'all not doing anything?" So to keep the pressure off of them, they got rid of Joseph.
these brothers were woke generation.
What?
Woke.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
In one word.
Stop it.
I think they were working, they were just, everybody has a different gifts. I think they're just, like they always mention, they were out, like out in the fields and stuff.
Yeah,
Some people
yeah,
are
I
good.
mean, they really were different, but I don't know how much of it was their motivated by their own selfishness. But I do see the difference. The way they were described here is far different than the way they were described earlier on.
Yes.
Far different, more, very much more subdued. Okay, why didn't Jacob send Benjamin with his other sons?
Well, I got one reason why they probably got calmed down. Remember they went back and castrated all the men and the boys and took them. And Abraham said, "Man, you messed it up for us. We gotta move now."
Yeah, but
That dad got on his case.
oh yeah, that did get on.
Yeah, that they said, "Man, I don't."
But that got stronger as the years went by. He did.
He saw that that's
Yeah.
he got on.
sometimes old man got stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Okay. How does verse 6 recall Genesis 34, verse 5 through 7? So let's see what verse 6 says.
Did we ask why they?
Oh, no. Why didn't Jacob send Benjamin with his other sons?
Because you know what happened to Joseph. He's the last one.
Yeah, he scared the heart.
Uh-huh.
And I felt that he didn't want to lose that child. That was his last one.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So verse 6 says, since Joseph was governor of all Egypt and in charge of the sale of the grain, it was to him his brothers came, and they bowed low before him with their faces to the ground. So let's go back to Genesis 37,
Fulfill the prophecy.
verse 5 through 7. One night, Joseph had a dream and promptly reported the details to his brothers, causing them to hate him even more. Listen to the dream he announced. We were out in the field, tying up bundles of what? Grain. My bundles stood up, and then your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before me. So he was selling grain, first of all, and they came bowing before him. So how did the verse recall it? Okay. Why did Joseph what did Joseph accuse his brothers of being? Spies? Thieves? Okay, spies.
Right.
Spies. Good.
That's being nice.
All right. In verse 15, Joseph announced a test that would be given to determine whether they were spies. Joseph's description of the test in verse 14 through 17 to his actions in verse 18 through 20. How did Joseph alter the text? So you can read 14 through 17 again, and then 18 through 20. So what was the test? 14 through 17. What was his action? 18 through 20. You read it?
Verse 14 says, Joseph said to them, it is just as I told you, you are spies. And this is how you be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison so that your words may be tested to see if you will tell the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. and he put them all in custody for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, his brothers, "Do this, and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back for your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified, and that you may not die." This they proceeded.
All right, so they went in jail. First of all, come on, dude. If I go buy flour to buy grain, let me buy the flour and grain. I got the money. Let me go.
Are you spies?
And so they didn't come to I got the money. I want grain. How do we get to spies?
Because Joseph knew who they were.
Yes,
That's why
twisted.
he said,
Plot twist. So
I know who you are, but you don't know who I am. So you are spies.
That's true. That's true.
There you go. And then bring your dad.
talk about it. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh.
That's right.
It must not be part of it from Canaan.
No, it doesn't. Because if you look, let me see. At least I can say it's based on it. It should be about 200 pounds,
Like
which is
camel.
the distance wise, which is still within the same floor.
Yes.
No, because wait, West Palm is what I think. I always say West Palm is what 45 miles, so 50 miles. So Fort Pierce is what
That's
was it? What
156
156 Fort
from
Pierce?
yeah from here.
So a little, so that Fort St. is what?
150.
So just north of
Yeah, it's
Too
in
far.
between
yeah,
Orlando
south.
and Miami.
Yeah,
In the car.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
but
You remember it's hot out there. Oh,
What?
yeah, but
2 years.
you still could get it done within 2 to 3 days.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's a
You
long
start
time.
first.
it's not planning.
Okay.
Listen, even if I was back in the Bible days, I'd be trying to call Uber.
Oh Lord.
I
That's
said,
it. Uber
I
camp.
God, please, can I get a Uber?
I know they had to be healthy, man. They thought they walked in something.
And bring it grain back too.
Whew. Yeah, I think they used to be able to get straight ride on a horse nonstop, but it was like very painful for the horses from the top of Florida to the down to Miami. Get a horse to
That was very hard, of course.
yeah, it was
Yes.
hard. Yeah, it could kill the horse.
Yeah.
All right,
Good damn.
yeah, focus. Yeah, very. I got lost. I got distracted. How were we? Yeah, so spies. Yeah, so this test that he had them. So yes, he's in a position of authority, But here, you could tell that there can be, and it's possible for people to misuse their authority for their own benefit. And I mean, I'm sure he had a plan of his own. Could he have done it a different way? Maybe.
Yeah, but you know, he said he was a God-fearing man.
Yeah, he is a God-fearing man, but I think also he was hurt.
Maybe it's the-
He may have been hurt.
But yeah, but he wasn't really being that mean. That's could have been.
3 days could have been.
Yeah,
What,
he-
3 days in prison?
he was the-
But when all of he didn't let all of them stay in prison. did he?
If he put one in prison, he, you know, are you laughing?
Yes. He didn't put Ruben in jail at that.
Listen, if one, he knew what it felt like being in prison.
He
Ruben
only left
was
one in prison after he left out.
Listen, no, he may have been God-fearing. And the truth is, sometimes we feel a way because we've been through something. And sometimes when you get a chance to be like tit for tat, you can't do what other people do. And God, and thank God he is God. He was God fearing. And more than likely, the Lord helped.
right.
Because if the Lord didn't deal with him, they may not have made it.
Because he said in 17, those put them all in prison for 3 days.
Yes.
Then on the third day, he said to them, if
Yes.
you do as I say, you would do. And then he left one in prison.
Because he probably had a chance in a change of heart because, whew, gracious.
Rest you may go home praying for your sorrow.
Yeah. So, and I think that matters. And that's something that makes a difference between verse 17 and 18 to show that them in prison, just because you get even with somebody who did you wrong, doesn't mean it's silence.
He was still able to twist the
I
little
knew he does.
because if you don't bring your brother, you ain't getting no good grade. You go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So he was still able to.
Now they know what it's like to be locked
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and hurt,
Yeah.
not knowing what's going to happen. It's kind of like,
Yeah, but the main thing is though, forgiveness is not peace, but forgiveness is power.
Yes.
It does not come easy and it's not cheap, but it's power. All right, let's see. What might Joseph have altered? What might Joseph have altered? How many would stay and how many would go? Why might Joseph have altered? How many stay and how
Oh, because that.
many? Yeah, I really think that the Lord was doing. I really think in and of himself that Joseph wanted to get. I really think he was hurt by what they did.
Just
I really do think he was hurt, and
Yeah.
he wanted them to feel what he felt.
Mhm.
And I really think that the accusation, the false accusation that he was putting on them was based on the false accusation that he went through. But he couldn't do what was done to him because of the God that was operating. And so that's what I see. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, so can you read verse 21 and 23? Well, you can be 21 to 28.
They said to one another, surely we are being punished because of our
Hmm.
fault. We saw.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Wait, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
We saw how distressed he was. He pleaded with us for his life, but he would not listen. That's why this distress is upon us. Reuben replied, didn't I tell you not to sin against the Lord?
Mhm.
But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give account for us. They did not realize that Joseph would understand them, since he was using an interpreter. He turned away from it and began to weep, but then turned back and spoke to them. He had Simeon taken away from them and bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened the sack to get feed for his donkey, and he saw his silver in the mouth of the sack. My silver has been returned, he said to his brothers. Here it is in my sack. Their hearts sank, and they turned to each other trembling and said, what is this that God has done to us?
Oh, we're gonna have to examine this, Lord, for next week. Because this is too much to unpack tonight. Because you know, there's times you go through and you want the sorry, you want the apology, and we gonna have to unpack this another time. Glory to
Yes.
Hallelujah. All right. So we're gonna close out.